Good morning. It's Monday, July 3rd, 2023. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to practice Wudang Dragon Sword. We have the final sets in the sword form this morning. I had said that we're going to finish up probably in July, review in August. That schedule looks like it's getting moved up just a little bit. We will be reviewing for the rest of the month of July. Yeah, maybe doing some review in August. I'm looking at that. And then in September, there'll be some new things. I haven't figured it done, and I'm not quite ready to announce what those are just yet. I have 4 things that I'm looking at. And so I'm still considering what might be the best thing to do next. It may be, depends. It really depends on what happens over the next month or so. It may be that we're going to go back and review some of the Xingyi, Bagua, Tai Chi that I have taught over the last couple of years. We may move ahead with a couple more things. Possible. I'm also looking at taking something of a break, a little one, not completely, so that I have more time for my own practice, and will then take that and put it into some recordings for how all of these individual movements, for sword form, for Tai Chi, all of the forms that I teach, how they fit together in an exhibition form. Okay? Because I've stressed repeatedly, we're going to get started here. I have stressed repeatedly the difference between exhibition, I'm going to go give a performance, and practice. This is what I'm doing for myself to work on what I do. And they're not the same. The skills that we use are not the same. If we don't practice, we can't go do the exhibition part. But the way that we approach practice and the way that we approach exhibition have to be different. Otherwise, you don't ever have practice. And this is one of the things that I'm looking at. This philosophy piece is one of the things that I'm looking at, how to better develop, so that those 4 options I was talking about, well, this is one of them. How do we practice? What do we do? Why do we practice for this? What do we want this to become? How do we create that environment for our own practice? And in the details, what's different between practicing for exhibition and practicing to learn something? Well, the first big thing is that in practicing for exhibition, we take part of what we're learning. Not all of it, because there's not enough time for all of it. Right? We're going to take part of what we're learning, and we're going to work on it to deliver an experience for the audience. And it may have some music behind it. I always, if I give exhibition, I got music behind me. What's the timing? What's the placement? Which movements am I going to do? Where's that going to go? I have to be selective, and then I'm going to practice my choreography. Because the choreography is not necessarily the same as what I'm doing in the form. I'm going to practice my choreography. And I'm going to practice it again and again and again and again, so that it comes through the way that I intend it to come through. Now, that's not the same as digging into the foundations, trying to understand what we're doing in a movement, trying to listen, was last month's focus for Qigong class, trying to listen to what your body is telling you, and then continually develop that so that gradually you get better and better and better. That didn't happen in exhibition. Exhibition is right now, this is it, this is as good as it gets, period, stop. This is, well, today, this is what I'm doing, and tomorrow I'm going to do something a little bit different, I'm going to get better. That distinction makes all the difference in not only how we approach our practice, but how we look at what somebody else is doing. Is it an exhibition? Great. I'm going to watch. Isn't this good? Okay? This is class. I'm going to try and learn something. It's different. Feet about shoulder width apart. Bend the knees, wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers. Hands circle the front. And back around to both sides. Up along center line. And reach out. Bend the knees. Again. Not too slow. One more time. There we go. Stretch up. Elbows drop down, wrists, fingertips, hands return to your sides. All right. Right leg front, left leg back. Comfortable. Not too low, not too high. Right? Somewhere in the middle. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Sink. And other leg. Other side. Other leg. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Sink. And come on up. All right, the leg work that we have been doing, I'm not going to review it this morning, but we are going to review it, and we're going to work on it as part of this whole review what we've been doing series. All right, so we have a couple of things that we're doing in these last moves that are very similar, if not identical, to moves that we've done in other parts of the form. That's the nature of what we do. For all of the forms, every form that I have ever studied, there is always repetition. It's not 108 completely different brand new moves in Tai Chi. It's a collection of movements, some of which repeat more often than others. Brush knee in Tai Chi, that repeats all the time. All right? P repeats frequently in sword form. Slice down. Right? That notion that we have repetition and that the repetition appears in different places. It's writing a sentence. It's connecting the dots in a picture. It's a vocabulary that comes from the form that we're practicing. So, what are the key moves in the form? Where do we see them? How do we do them? And what are the other movements that are connected through them and with them? So that as we work through the combinations, we have some sense of what comes first, what comes next, and how we structure the form. Yeah, I'm gonna work on that one. I was worried about hitting the shelf. Again, I'm gonna move out of the way and I'm gonna do it again. That is the ending for Dragon Sword. Okay. Yes, I am gonna slow it down. I promise I'm gonna slow it down. Right. That last part, we see several things that we've done before. Right? So we're here, right? Up. We've done that several times, haven't we? This move, no, you're not going to hit my foot. I'm going to move that out of the way and bring it up so that I'm ready for what's next. That particular combination of moves repeats frequently. And we see it not only in this sword form, we see it in our Tai Chi sword form, we see it in other sword forms as well. It's a pretty common kind of movement. All right, so we're here, down, up, slice down, behind, turn around and up. As we turn, lean back. So I step behind and just and let me do this here. 1, 2. Come around and up, lean back. So 2, here. So not here. Overhead. Come around and down. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, I gave this, I said, that's not the right place. This is the right place, okay? That is also part of what we get from trying to keep to the traditional form. So if I'm going to go to exhibition, and I do this move really well, right? Suppose that's not as great as it could be. It could be better. But suppose I decide, yeah, I like that move. I'm going to do that move in my exhibition set because I do it really well. And I want people to see what I do well. I don't want people to see what I don't do well. Right? So, all right. So, big difference. Exhibition, I'm going to pick and choose things that I do well. Practice, I'm often going to work on the things that I don't do quite so well. Okay, we're here, down, up, right, to the 45 on the other side, to the back, step back and cross the foot. Make sure this foot is well planted, because you got to turn around. Right? And that, the one that the very one at the end that I'm going to do in a minute, that sense of placement and balance. Am I in the correct spot to be able to do this move in the first place? My body position, my balance, am I in the correct spot? to do this move in the first place. And then, yeah, what was I doing? All right, that twist through the waist, carries through the whole body. It shouldn't be disconnected, so it should not be something that you're thinking of in a light dance manner, right? This is a grounded turn. It's not a up here turn, right? I'm grounded. As I step through, 1, 2, 3. This foot is going to pull back a little bit as this turns so that I can lean back. That adjustment in the foot matters. We have to, right? Here, 1, 2. I'm going this way. I have to turn to go this way, right? This line, I'm up to the 45, to the 45 behind me, come around. What did I do with my feet as I came around so that I end up here? That matters, okay? If I start, and I'm beating up on the footwork here deliberately, right? So, here, come down 1. This foot has to set. Otherwise I can't go to it, right? Here, here. If this foot isn't ready, this is not going to have it. When I come down on this side, it's not going to have anything to it. It's going to be empty. Right? As I step back, that's pretty much all that happens. Now, there's a little bit more of an adjustment so that I'm straighter, right? That this is more of a straight line, should be a straight line. Okay, that, again, that placement sets us up for the next step, and it makes all the difference in whether or not I've got any strength in this movement or in this one. If my legs are not well placed when I turn my waist, that will happen. No. No. No, don't do that, right? As I come back around here, this sweep down and out. The knee tucks behind the supporting leg, and we're going to work on this in Qigong class a little bit with coiling snake. We work on it, and I may do some review of Wudang's 3 basic methods, which does include coiling snake. This descent here to here. Except that I can't use my hands, and this doesn't get to sit. It's all in the legs. I used to be able to do it. Right? The more that we have that strength, the more that we have that extension, the easier it is to pull that back just a little bit and add more strength to it. So if I can go all the way up and down, used to, if I can do that, when I stop here, my stance is going to be much stronger than if I haven't tried to develop the strength to go up and down, right? So here, come around, down, out. The legs, right? This knee tucks behind, and there has to be enough room that you can go up and down, right? So if you lock your legs here, you can't move. This is locked. You can't go anywhere. This has to be open so that you can go up and down, right? That requires more strength in the hips and the lower back to support the body as we're turning so that the legs just bend, okay? The turn at the end goes all the way around. And I had said before, I was trying not to hit the shelf with the sword. That is, again, one of the things in practice that we have to pay attention to is what do we have around us? And I talked about this with the idea that, yeah, I need to go outside, do some recordings outside where I don't have any trees close by that I would hit. So, you know, if I go too far this way, I'm going to hit the door. If I go too this way, I'm going to hit the window. I can hit the shelf. You can't go that way either. I don't have that same limitation outside, and I don't have the limitation of the camera if I'm practicing on my own, right? So there's a couple of things that it goes with. All right. So I'm here. Still not great. It's okay. There. Paying attention to where you're going. Right? So here, as I come out here, I want to return to here. Couple of things going on. One, I'm leaning. Two, I'm having a little issue with my shoe. it's all right. That combination, balance and placement, right? Where am I? Am I going to hit something? Am I going to hit something when I do this spin? And yeah, I don't want to, right? Come up over here. There. Still a little rough. It's going to get better this week. All right, we're going to review this again right now. This turn, come all the way around, spin. The more space you have, the less you have to worry about hitting something. Okay? So as I'm coming around, right, I am concerned that I'm going to hit something. I got several objects that I might hit in that spin, and I want to be careful that I don't. So instead of, and I'm going to, I found my spot. Instead of paying attention to what you're doing with the sword, you're paying attention to the objects around you. Okay? So instead of me paying attention, what do I need? I'm looking at the shelf going, how much room do I have between me and the shelf so I don't hit something, right? That distraction is a distraction. It's also important to acknowledge, right? If you have to deal with it, it's important to acknowledge that yes, I am dealing with this, and that in another circumstance outside, I might be doing this movement a little bit differently. If we don't recognize that, if we don't pay attention to that, and if we don't occasionally go outside and practice, right? That concept won't ever really make it into our practice. It's like, well, this is the way I always practice. I always practice in this little small room, so my movements are always going to be little and small. That's part of how Wu style Tai Chi got created. All right? The Wudang system comes from the Wudang Mountains. You go outside. Just go outside. All right, that sense that we're not going to necessarily be in a little tiny room somewhere, that we're out in an open space and on a mountain, because that does make a difference in the quality of the movement and the way that we move. It does. That history informs what we're doing in Dragon Sword. It informs everything that I do in all of the arts that I learned from Wudang. It does. Right? There are differences that show up in the way people move according to the environment that they are in. It's human nature. It happens. You take the same group of humans and put them in different environments, and the way that we will develop will be in harmony with or in recognition of the environment that we're in. So if you're up on a mountain, it's real different than being on a beach, right? That difference shows up in the way the movements are choreographed. The traditional movements, not my choreography, the traditional movements, it shows up in the way they're choreographed. It shows up in the kinds of things that we do. All right, so this last series that we've been working on, here, right foot to the front, look to the back on the 45, step, slice across, jab in, 1, up, turn, extend, 1, 2, 3, 4, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, all the way around, and close. I'm going to take that. That was all right. I did talk about this before. I am going to do this with the tassel for exhibition. I will do with the tassel so you can see what that looks like. We will practice with it a little bit, so at least there's that understanding of the difference in how we move the sword. If I'm paying attention to having the tassel on the end versus, hey, I just got the sword. That difference is how we see the skill of the person who has the sword. It's a skill test. It's not a test of how strong your arm is. It's a test of how refined the movement can be. It's not easy. It's really easy to get that tassel tangled up around your wrist. It really is, especially with some of the twists. Really easy to send that thing flying. We have to pay attention to that. If we're going to use it, we have to pay attention to it. if we're paying attention, when we pay attention to it, what happens is that the level of finesse that we have with the blade, not with the arm, with the blade, the level of finesse that we have out here shows up. Another point of practice, another thing to work on, something that, yeah, if you're going to do exhibition, you got to think about, am I going to do exhibition with this thing on the sword or not? If not, you know, if you're thinking, I'm going to go do exhibition or I'm going to go to competition, and the tassel is a problem, take it off. Don't have the distraction. Because at the end of the day, if we're thinking about, when we think about the traditional arts, there wasn't nobody carrying around a sword with a tassel back in the day. We go back to the 12th century, 13th century, 14th century, people were carrying swords. Nobody carried a sword that had a tassel. Look at my tassel, hey, hey. No, look at my sword, hey. You know, that difference. The level of refinement that we work toward so that the movement is smooth and complete is part of what we're doing in practice. That's part of how it shows up. The other part of how it shows up is that we practice and we develop the skill, and little by little, day by day, we get better. So tomorrow I might look at what I did today and yeah, it's alright. 6 weeks from now I might look at what I did the day after tomorrow and say, wait, I corrected that, I fixed that, yeah, that's better. We want that in practice. I will be back tomorrow with sword form. Thank you. I appreciate you being here.